The best coaches in the game, we really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block, helmets casket is top. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision, we got too many. Tick your tech. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, regroup. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just dropped. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, yeah. Do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted to come around.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Geeks Vegas Lines DFS, Daily Fantasy Football, and Betting Angles Breakdown. It is NFL Week 15, and we are looking at the main slate from both a Daily Fantasy Football and Betting Angles perspective. Joining me, as always, the DFS GOAT, one of the top-ranked MME players I'm going to say the best MME player in the world. What up, everyone else? We got John Statsational Alessia over here with us. What's up, my man?
Not much, man. Not much. Just hanging in there.
Crushing it. I heard you were taking down NBA contest last night, fucking knocking my boy the Soprano into second place. Kind of pissed me off a little bit right there.
Yeah, I just gotta thank Keg. Some good info that he's given out over in the Slack chat. So that was a big help on that. Yeah, so he's, the preseason is tough, and Keg is like all over it, so it's good.
So good. I mean, listen, no guarantees. Preseason is extremely difficult, but for those of you guys watching it, your DFS Army members, if you haven't dipped your toe in the NBA puddle, give it a dip. This water's a little cold, but you know what? You get used to it after a minute. Dip it in there.
We got this huge millie maker is going to be coming up next week when the league when we start. I think the first couple of days, and then FanDuel's got, I think it's only 990,000 entries in their millie maker, so it should be easy to take down.
Oh yeah, I'm just going to go super chalky in that one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Who's going to be popular?
Just play the optimal. Yeah,
yeah. I get a lot of people who say, John, I get a lot of people who leave DFS Army, right? And it's always sad for me. And I say, well, what happened? And they said, I used your lineup and I didn't win anything. Now, the first thing, I'm always very confused. I don't know what lineup. I don't give out a lineup. This is DFS Army. We don't give out lineups here. So what the hell are they talking about? We're a company that gives tools and projections. I said, what happened? Having ownership projections that harmed your lineup, knowing what the field was doing? No, I didn't use that. So I said, well, did having like statistics from the research station like that confused you and then it messed up your lineup? And he says, no. I used the optimal and it didn't win the tournament. Actually, I'm in cashed, but like I'm here for the big bucks. And that's what they say. So I just learned something, number one, about John, totally separate from everything else. That was that an e-cigarette that I just saw?
No, it's my little marker.
Oh, I was going to be like, did you just smoke an e-cig? All right,
No.
So I didn't learn something. I'm like, what the fuck? I've known you for this long?
No.
Right, no. So I say to people, an optimal lineup is not supposed to win a tournament, man. If it won a tournament, that's a really fucked up tournament that you're entering. And so I'm still amazed at the lack of knowledge, the lack of understanding that exists with how to attack daily fantasy sports, B, how to use tools to attack daily fantasy sports, and and how it all comes together. Like, I'm amazed, and what it tells me every time, John, is that the edge is still there and it's still real and it's palpable.
It certainly is, and I think that's why I try to, certainly more so on the when we do the wolf packs and we get some of the other guys on there, is just talking about more of lineup construction and things of that sort, because to me, I don't know where you would put it on a percentage basis, but like where would you rank if out of 100%, if there were two factors, lineup construction and projections, like how would you weight it?
Line construction is 80%.
Yeah, I'd be in that ballpark. I'd be in that ballpark too.
Like the projections are fine. This is another thing that people don't understand, and I'll bring it back around to NBA. People think that if you have really good projections in NBA, you're just going to click optimize and you're going to make money. And that was true like about 4 years ago. Everybody has projections. Everybody. There's nobody playing. Actually, there are a few people, but they don't last very long into the season. If you don't have projections, you're dead. You have no chance. Projections only puts you on a level playing field, like really good projections. All that does is kind of level things out, but you still have to construct your lineups the right way. There's no magic push button machine that pushes out money. It does not exist, because if it existed, as a lot of skeptics would say, somebody would print all of the money with it until it stopped working. That does not happen. So you've got to use lineup construction techniques. You've got to understand what kind of contest you're entering. Really important. Really important. I don't know why we went off on a tangent there. I did that. It's on me.
It's always on you.
Off with your fake e-cigarette /pen thing.
I got to keep this handy because I got to write something on the board.
Oh, we will have a bet.
Yeah.
Before this is through. All right. So let's talk about NFL Week 15. We've got a 2-game slate on Saturday. We're not even talk about that. Too many games. Thursday, Saturday. Well, I mean, we're just two people here. So we're going to focus on the NFL main slate Sunday. And one of the things we noticed in looking through and trying to pick out the core four was that it's really hard to pick no games really stand out incredibly. And peruse. This is the DFS Army NFL odds page. Go to dfsarmy.com, live odds, very important. You can see comparative odds. And on this page, you'll note that there is not a single game outside of maybe one or two that fall into the usual core four category of, hey, I need to load up on this, right? And you could see it here. Low total, 45, close spread. This one's interesting, and this made the core four. Bears, Vikings. Panthers, Packers, very, very large spread, but, maybe an interesting game right here. Lions, Titans, 10-point favorite Titans. There's nothing exciting about this game per se, except for the Titans having a giant score. Jaguars, blowout against the Ravens. Low-scoring game, Patriots, Dolphins. So a lot of, like a blowout. Rams against, Rams defense. You know who got Rams defense on their season-long team? This guy. Looking forward to that round 2. Here's one that stands out: Chiefs and Saints. So this whole slate's going to be very interesting. And John, you were telling me a technique you used a couple of weeks ago when we had another slate like this, where nothing looked great on paper going in. You said, you know what? When I saw that slate, I just jacked up the number of uniques I normally do on the optimizer. Like normally it might be 3 or 4, jacked it up to 6. Just make sure you get a big, diverse array of lineups, because who the hell knows what's going to hit on a week like this.
Yeah. That's you got to kind of look at the whole slate and try to figure out how you're going to go about it. So yeah, that's what I did a couple of weeks ago, and honestly, I think most of my lineups were terrible, but I popped one, which is all we're really looking for. I popped one good one for like 250 points on DK.
What was that worth?
Honestly, it wasn't really worth that much. No. It was just it wasn't in the right contest, but I think it was like 20 or 30,000, something like that. But it just missed. It was one of those that just missed a big time day, and I just missed qualifying. I think
that's right.
I just missed qualifying for the whatever they call it. I'm the same thing I'm in on FanDuel that I qualified for last week. Whatever their championships are, I forget the FFWCs or whatever.
We have quite a few people in the FFWC, and we have some members in the Draftkings championships as well this weekend. So there's a lot of that going on. A lot of guys have reached out to me, and yeah, we're gonna talk individually, and you could all DM me. You could DM John if you want, and discuss those lineups. We're gonna help it however we can for everybody who's in that. Although John's your competition.
I'm in the FanDuel one. Yeah, I'm not in the DraftKings one. So
don't
feel free to hit me up on DraftKings. I'm not.
Yeah, he won't give you good advice.
Yeah,
you're the competition. All right, let's get into it. So the core 4 for this week is just 3. So we're gonna go the core 3. All right, the first game that I have picked out for the core 3 is Bears Vikings. Now, this isn't traditionally something you'd see on the core 4 because there's a 47-point game total, but it's one of the few competitive games. It's inside in a dome. Vikings have just been one of these teams where their games tend to score a lot of points. So, and it's a close seeming game on paper. So I went with this one. Bears coming in as 3-point road underdogs. This game has a 47-point total. Now, John, the Bears have looked pretty good since Trubisky has come back. Like offensively, they've looked a little bit better. You know, the Vikings are one of these teams that kind of look different every single week. They've got a healthy Dalvin Cook here. Does anything stand out about this line that seems bettable? I'd have a hard time even kind of really knowing which team's going to win this one.
Yeah, it's it's that classic 3-point line, which is, the close to coin flip type of games. The public, though, it's funny how things have changed, right? The Bears were, how many games did the Bears lose in a row there? 5, 6 games, whatever it was.
The Foles era is kind of, I'm calling it the La Caja Foles.
Well, they were losing. Yeah, well, that's true. They came in, Trubisky had that they were undefeated 5-0, whatever they were. And we all knew they weren't really that strong a team. The offense was sputtering the whole time. And we know the story, but now how the public and perception has changed because the public is really coming in heavy here on the Bears in this game.
The Bears.
Yeah, because it's like
the public had my same donkey opinion that like I kind of look at this game and I'm not sure who's going to win. It seemed like a pick 'em.
Yeah, so they're taking the points and they looked at the Bears last week and they put up a bunch of points against Houston pretty much. That game was never close and. I think the comical comparisons, of course, because that same draft they could have had Watson and they had Trubisky, so a lot of people, that was the game to prove that they were correct in picking Trubisky and not Watson.
Not,
of course, sarcastically.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
will never prove that.
No, of course not. But that was a big, a lot of Twitter chatter. But as far as betting on this game, I would lean on the under actually. So I actually think this game might be a little bit lower scoring than we thought. From the fantasy, I was looking at the Dom station, just kind of listening. It's still early in the week. Just listening to some chatter. People do like Cook. Cook's Cook. Always a tough matchup though when you're going up against the Bears with a certainly on the running side, especially when Hicks is in there.
I see. Listen, you know what? You got to make a choice. It's hard to pay up this week. So once again, you've got Derrick Henry in a absolute smash spot, just like last week. We talked about that. Derrick Henry should be the chalk because he's in a much better situation. His team's a giant favorite, but he's also got a fairly low floor just as a player in general. If he doesn't get into the end zone, if he doesn't break those giant runs that he tends to do in these games because of a lack of passing game usage, the floor is kind of low. And, with Dalvin Cook, I think it's just if I want to get off of Henry, I can spend the same amount on Cook, who's not in a great spot, but, he's getting 28 touches a game, gets more passing game work. So, and he did well in a fairly bad matchup last week. So, again, my one season-long team with the Rams has both Cook and Henry as my running back tandem, and I hope they both do really well. Trying to win that money. But yeah, I don't love Dalvin Cook here. A, the game total is a little low. B, it's the Bears, so it's like a better than average defense against the run. The one positive about the Bears is, they're also they're actually quite good against the pass. They have elite cornerback play at Kyle Fuller. And so maybe it forces some more running. I actually have one of the games this week that really plays in a giant factor and why I'm excited about that one game. But I don't know about Thielen and Diggs here. Thielen and Jefferson here either, because Cousins can go either way against a really good defense. Sometimes he could just kind of fold up and not look very good. And other times, he's like, you like that? And he just tears shit up. It's hard to know.
Yeah, I did my stacks. And so the Cousins Jefferson stack, which is usually the highest one for Minnesota, is 13th overall. And actually the Trubisky stack is actually 11th with Robinson. So they're pretty comparable, actually. They're both around 13.5% probability of hitting that 60.
I was going to mention Trubisky, not just like Trubisky last week, seven targets, I believe it was, to Cole Kmet as well. So, and I think Robinson got something like 16 targets last week. So there really was a lot of like passing game goodness out of this Bears team last week. What about Montgomery? He's been on a tear. His salary has been exploding to the upside. And I continue to see personally some red flags in the scores he's put up. Obviously, he's put up monster scores the last 2 weeks. Last week, he only had like 13 carries. Like, it wasn't that many. And he didn't get my boy Cordero Patterson got something like 40% of the carries I looked this shit up before the show. It's not like I don't do anything.
Well, you got to be careful because Montgomery had like an 80 some odd yard run, right?
Yeah, he had an 80-yard run, but a total, let me put this up on screen here, a total of only 11 carries, a bunch of targets. He put up a lot of points. That's great, but it was a blowout week against Houston. You would have almost thought that Montgomery should have gotten more carries in a blowout. But here was Cordero Patterson, and I think those numbers look high just because the number for Montgomery was low. Like, Cordero probably got the same kind of number of carries he normally does. Yeah, 6 rushing attempts. So, but it just looked like a lot because Montgomery only got 11. So then it wound up being like he got 40% of the rushes versus 60 or something like that. And he was on the field for a good 40% of the time. So it's just really interesting that Montgomery got there without a lot of volume last week.
Well, let's look at his last 3, right? So he scored about 27, 28 points in 3 straight games, Montgomery, right? He's had, so last game, 11 touches or 11 carries for 113, averaged 10.3 a touch so he had a touchdown and he had 3 catches for 42. Week before he had 17 rushes for 72, so a more normal 4.2 average. And then the week prior, he was 11 rushes for 103. So again, he averaged like 9.4. So, I mean, those are obviously unsustainable. The 17 for 72 seems like that's kind of where you'd figure him. But in that week, he got the 2 touchdowns. So I think there is high risk here of, yeah, he could get the 20 touches, but if he's averaging 4.2, it's not going to get you the 100. If he doesn't get the ball in the end zone, then he really doesn't become worth anything here. So I'd be very leery that he's going to be able to do this again 4 weeks in a row without the volume.
I mean, the volume's just not been there. Like, these games should have been voluminous. We're not talking about games like Detroit. That should have had a lot of volume, right? Because that's the Lions. And he did end up smashing, but he didn't get the yardage in that one. He just got touchdown variance.
Yeah, I mean, how good of a matchup were the last 2 weeks?
You couldn't ask for a better one against Houston. Only 11 carries. What the fuck? So, like, that is a concern for me. I don't like it. Concerns me. And now they jacked up his salary. So I'm kind of off the Montgomery bandwagon this week. I could be wrong. I'm going to accept it. It's another good matchup. And it definitely could be wrong. I just don't. I'm having a hard time figuring out why the volume isn't really there, especially since, again, if we look at our matchups tool, there's no other running back that's coming in for him. It's just Cordell Patterson getting some work. But, like, I don't understand, why is he snap count 67%? The rushing share, it's only about 50% on the season. So that there are concerns here. Like, they also hand off to like Miller once in a while, or the tight end will get a hand. They bring in Patterson. It's really weird. Doesn't feel like enough volume to justify a $7K price tag to me.
Yeah, I got to look at the pace, because just from the numbers, it would kind of look at like they are slowing the game down quite a bit, not running as many plays, which is also going to limit it. The game, and then just looking at Trubisky, because he's been throwing, so he's thrown it like 30. I had it up here, the last 3 weeks. So he threw it 33, 34 2 weeks, and then 46 3 weeks ago against Green Bay, because they were getting killed in that game. So
yeah, but he did well in that game. I accept it in a high passing volume environment, but when you're beating Detroit 36-3, I couldn't ask for more of a setup for the running game. So it's a tricky one, is all I'm saying. And of course, the Dalvin Cook factor, if you ask me, and we'll move on from this game, but if you ask me, I'd rather play Derrick Henry this week in his matchup as a giant favorite compared to Dalvin Cook, who's in sort of a closer game. But Dalvin Cook's a good play. Like, I'm not benching him. I think he's fine. But you will see as well this week, and everybody's going to notice this as you start to make lineups. There is now, my man Curtis Townsend just, threw some really good injury news at us. But overall, until we start hearing any of these Corona people, right now there's no value out there. Like, there is just nothing. Like, you can't. You look under 5K. There's virtually no player that you want to use. So that could change. We could get Leonard Fournette, a couple, something like that. But right now there's no value, and it's very tricky. So you're not going to be able to spend up a ton. You're going to have to kind of make your middling approach to your lineup construction unless something changes. All right, the next game on the Core 4. This is my favorite game of the week, John. It's a little spendy, a little pricey. Try to get some of these players in there. We've got the Chiefs taking on the Saints as road 3-point favorite. Rolling with my homie. Now, you know when I like Mahomes even more? When it's a close game and when the opposing team can stop the run. Because the one danger of any Mahomes game, one of the only of any game when you're dealing with a quarterback, what if the running back eats up all the touchdowns, right? But in the case of a game against the Saints, that lowers the likelihood because they're very good against the run. Now, the Saints are 3-point road favorites, 51.5-point total on this game. What up, Taysom? Still taking the helm. John, does anything stand out about these lines? Is the field betting the shit out of the Chiefs -3 right now? Like, when can you get the Chiefs minus just 3? It seems like, they should be favored by more.
That's a lot of people seem to like the Chiefs here in this situation. We've got a good 80 to 90% of the market's probably going to be coming in as far as the public on the Chiefs. It doesn't. I'm not even sure if the sharp money is going to be on the other side or passing on the game. The game does look like the Chiefs side. Now, based on my rankings, I've got these two teams virtually identical. Granted, that was predominantly the Drew Brees team. Are we 100% confident that this team's not better with Hill or Brees?
I will tell you, I am not confident that it's better with Brees.
Exactly. So I think the one thing, we may find it out this week, you wonder, can they put up the points if their defense is, can they get in a shootout and win with Hill? That may be, up. That's going to be to be seen. You're looking at this game 51.5. I think if the game stays under, it favors the Saints. I think when the game goes over here, it's going to favor the Chiefs. So if you're looking at a parlay and you like one side of this game or the other, that's how I would play. So I think if this game goes over, the Chiefs cover. That's how I would look at it, because I just think it's going to be a hard time. If this becomes again, certainly we're not going to see something like we saw on Monday night. But if we get into a shootout situation, I think eventually Mahomes just outshoots him. So that's how I would say.
Always wins out in that scenario. Yeah. But my goodness, if the Saints can keep it close, or if the Saints can take a lead at some point, and Mahomes has to come back furiously, the fantasy points bonanza explosion is going to be spectacular. I love it. I love this game. This is the only game that really actually excites me almost on the whole slate. There's another one that's kind of, actually, I should include it in the core 4. Actually, I'm going to add a fourth, the Eagles Cardinals game. That's going to be in the core 4 as well, but I'm going to add that as our fourth. But this one excites me. Mahomes finally in a good matchup. If you look at every matchup that Mahomes has been in almost all season, it's been like a blowout. And you've had to think, what if they lean on the run and they end up just fucking passing and destroying the opposition anyway? But now you've got Mahomes going up against a team that A, can score, which I like. B, they move the football via the run, which is helpful since the Chiefs are a little more vulnerable to the run. I'd like to see Taysom Hill running a little bit more than even what he does, if I'm being honest. they can pass, and Michael Thomas and all of that. And so there's a chance that the Saints keep this close, and Mahomes and company either are behind at some point, which is the ultimate if you played Mahomes. That's what you want. Like last week against Miami, I'm like, oh yeah, they fell behind. They caught up so quickly it didn't matter. But we want them to be playing from behind, and I like pieces from both teams, so it's very stackable. How about obviously Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill are great, and they're always great and whatever. But how about in an upscale game, maybe a little Sammy Watkins in a week where there's not that much value. How about a little Mecole Hardman? Yes. Does he get all the looks? No, he's only on the field 30% of the time. But if I'm trying to win a tournament, you play a little Hardman.
Absolutely, you can. Yeah, I mean, it's the same story all the time when you're dealing with the Kansas City offense. So for tournaments, I love being able to drop down to the third, even a fourth option with that team, because that gives you, because now I've got all the Mahomes, I get the cheaper wide receiver. It gives me a chance to come back, maybe with the Thomas on the other side. So then I can be unique. I have exposure to that game while also being unique. So yeah, I'm a big proponent of dropping down in that situation, because we've seen it. I mean, obviously Kelce and Hill, I actually got those. That's my top two stacks on the stack probabilities this week, either or. So you'd have to kind of pick between the two, or play them both, which is also an option. But then you're talking about big, you're spending too much money there. It's going to be tough to, at least on Wednesday right now, it's going to be tough to find some cheap options to go with that. But yeah, if you're going to go, or if you go two, you're going to use,
you can't. I mean, you can't get Kelce and Hill together. So you're not.
No, you can't. Yeah, you can't do that. But I'm saying you can do it with the, if you drop down. I don't know what Hardman's price is, or Watkins is coming back this week. So
Sammy's in there. No, Sammy's playing. Watkins.
Oh, he's been playing. Yeah,
he's been playing. Sammy, take a look at matchups tool. This is very important, because one thing that the Saints are doing, that the Chiefs are doing, which is kind of annoying, not gonna lie, kind of annoying, is they're continuing to run Demarcus Robinson out there 53% of the time as the WR, essentially now WR3, with Hardman still only in there 31% of the time, but Hardman's getting the target. So they're not throwing to Demarcus Robinson. He's just like a body out there. I don't know what the fuck they're doing, actually. Hardman is getting more looks overall. Sammy Watkins didn't get a ton of targets last week. They actually threw to the running back a lot last week. And again, that was in a unique kind of different situation. They don't normally throw to Hilaire 18% of the time. That's not going to be the case all the time. But we've seen Watkins can spike to 25% target counts. Like, he just does. And there's no real rhyme or reason to it. It just happens. And Hardman only takes 3 passes to break one and smash his 3K price tag. So, no. Guys, no. This is not happening. Sean Payton not getting sneaky. He's not going to play Winston. That's not happening. And another thing, Lawrence, we don't want Swift when Stafford is out. None of this Chase Daniel. I don't. Team might be getting blown out. I mean, I don't hate it, but I don't like it that much. On the New Orleans side, I like Taysom. By the way, John, what's your take on? When I find these games I like, and I think it's going to be high scoring, even though I like Mahomes as the quarterback, preferably, I think there's some merit to always kind of playing the underdog, like the cheaper quarterback in these games. Because the game's going off, Taysom Hill's going off. And he's a full 2K salary less than Pat Mahomes, meaning Mahomes, this is not a lot, but Mahomes needs to outscore. If Mahomes doesn't outscore Taysom Hill by a full 10 fantasy points, it's kind of a bust having paid up for him. Because a 2K difference, two fantasy points times 4, you need 8 to 10 points to keep like really good pace and be worth paying all the way up. So why not play Taysom even in a cash game? 6K, and in tournaments pair him up with Mike Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, you know my stance on that. If I like the game, if I think the game is going to be high scoring, then that means I like both sides of the game and I like both quarterbacks, which is why I like the heavier stacks on games where I like both. If I like the game to go high, then those are the games I want to game stack. And if I'm game stacking, then I like the pivot onto the cheaper of the two options at wide receiver. At quarterback, and then I can use the more expensive wide receiver option on the other side to go with the cheaper quarterback. So the going with the opponents. I always think that's a great way to play it. So that's why I look at it. What I always say is look at it from the macro down to the micro. So I like the game. Figure out the games you like, and then get into then when you start digging into that game, then I can look and say, okay, yeah, absolutely, Taysom Hill is a good play here, and then I could use that with the pass catching options. So there's two ways to go about it. You go with Mahomes, maybe with the cheaper options on his side of the ball, or you could go with Hill and the expensive options on the opposite.
Yeah, you can with Taysom, instead of having to play Sammy Watkins, you can play Tyreek or Kelsey. That's the difference. Yeah,
it's a more likely outcome is that to win a big GPP.
Yeah.
If Watkins, if Watkins goes off or one of those guys goes off, but I like it even better than that. I like the Hill. I like Hill and Hill, I guess it is, or Hill and Kelsey type of play. Better than Mahomes with Watkins.
Absolutely, I totally agree. All right, let's move on to number 3 on what is now going to be an actual core 4. Don't forget Eagles Cardinals last one. But number 3, the Bucs take on the Falcons as 6-point road favorites. Game total 50.5 points. Now, John, does anything stand out to you from a betting angles? Which side is the public on here? Bucs haven't looked the best last couple weeks. Now I'm hearing Ron John got the Rona, got the vid, not going to play. We don't know. Maybe people saying Fournette will back him up. Okay, maybe. What if it's somebody else? Fournette was a healthy scratch last week. I don't know. But probably going to get some running back value out of this game. So I think that's going to be very important with Ron Jones out. And on the flip side, the Falcons have not been a team that's traditionally looked that great against good defenses, but then they come through every once in a while. Maybe we'll get a Julio Jones back here healthy. Maybe we'll get this good game from the Falcons, divisional opponents. Break it all down for me, because this is a tough one.
From the betting standpoint, the public is on Tampa, and I think the I just think the Falcons' loss last week really changed a lot of. I thought the Falcons were kind of moving in a good direction. We actually had them as a bet, kind of a tough beat there with the late interception that cost us that game. So
yeah, it's bummer.
I mean, there was that was the least of the Monday night game. Might have been one of the worst beats of all time. Wasn't a play of mine, but that beat on Monday night with the safety late was one of the worst beats I've ever seen. So
most of the books returned your money on those bets.
Yeah, it's always a good promotional play. From the books nice to do that. That was a crazy one. But
I want them to return my money on the Ferguson play.
Yeah.
They're like, no, he got his ass kicked. You don't get your money back for that.
No, you don't.
Oops.
But yeah, I mean, I would lean towards the Bucs myself. And like I said, the public's really is really on Tampa in this matchup. From a DFS standpoint, I think you're mentioning we'll see what happens with Rojo. I mean, last week was a killer. Like I just wish. Because I didn't want to play the running backs in that game, and if Fournette was in there, it would have made it really easy. I would have had minimal. Now all of a sudden, I've got to jack up Jones because he looks like he's going to be the only guy, and then he does shit, and
sadly, the Jones exposure came at direct expense from Montgomery. So
exactly, yeah,
it was a bummer.
And that's just the way this game,
or Eckler.
It's not easy. But
I mean, I had in my cash lineup Eckler and Montgomery overnight into the morning. None of the McKissick. And then that news hit, and I'm like, I got to change everything. And of course, I went to shit.
This week's not a good matchup, really, for either running back or for either team to run the ball. I mean, we know Tampa's history against the running back. I mean, Gurley's pretty much done.
No, Gurley is a shot.
Yeah,
You watch Gurley; he's dead legged.
So
yeah,
that makes it real easy on that side.
Unplayable.
Yeah, unplayable. But I think this game, I think this could be a potential game stacking game. Again, well, we got to see what's going on with Julio too.
I want to clarify this for you right now, and then I want an opinion. I'm going to tell you right now that Leonard Fournette, if he starts, is going to be the most popular player on the entire slate. Let's clear that up right now. Based on the way that this slate plays, I've already looked at it. I've looked at the salaries, and if Uncle Lenny starts in this game, he will be the most popular player on the slate. It's just going to happen. There's no value there. There's no running back under 5K that you can even sniff that has a shot. It's going to be Leonard Fournette. Now, what do we do if Leonard Fournette is the chalk play this game? It's Atlanta. They don't scream good against the running back, but they are kind of good against the running back, but they're a little vulnerable to pass catch running back. What do we do in that situation?
No, I don't like the running back. I don't care at all. I mean, I don't like Tampa running the ball against Atlanta here. They're not that great. Tampa's not that great either way with the run. I mean, Fournette, I've always been a Fournette guy, but I just don't like the way he looks. I just think this game is going to be determined by in the air. I mean, you can have two old quarterbacks. I think it's going to be a shootout, slinging it all around. I think the running backs become no factor in this game, and especially if Jones is out. I like this game quite a bit, though. Like I said, from a pass catching stacking standpoint, so I will be stacking this game fairly heavily.
Yeah. I mean, get a little Julio going if he plays, or my boy Chad Hansen. Russell Gage put up a big number last week. Finally,
it's a 6-point game, or a 6-point spread.
I can't stack this fucking game. I on the Bucs side, I can't stack. I don't want anything to do with the Bucs. I don't want anything to do with them. He spreads the football around too much.
He spreads it around. I get it. That's but I'm talking from an MME standpoint. It's going to be really hard. I'm trying to get my brain on what lineup I'm going to throw in there in the.
This is not your FF.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going yet, but yeah, it's hard. If I was just staring at this game, it'd be really, really hard to figure out which combo I want to stack. But this probably won't be the game that I'm using.
Little side note about the FFFC, and I'll tell you the advice that I use for myself in these type of contests, and I gave already some of our guys who are in this. Before you even start trying to think what your lineup is going to be, you need to decipher what the chalk approach to the contest is going to be. Once you've got that deciphered, and it's not hard. We can't do it today on Wednesday, but by Saturday, we'll have a pretty good idea of who everybody's playing. Right up, it's going to be like last week. We could go right back. Everybody's going to play McKissick. Everybody's going to try to squeeze in one or both of Henry or Devontae Adams. And when you do that, you're forced to play fucking Brashard Perriman or Denbell Mims or Chad Hansen. So as soon as you can decipher what that most people are just going to kind of play something very similar to that chalk approach because they don't want to lose and come in last. Like the number of times that you get to be in the FFFC, even for the best of players, is not every day. So it's an important lineup. You don't want to come in last. So outside of the addicts who have 5 entries.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you have to be willing to come in last, though.
Most won't be. This is where I was going with the advice. You have to accept that most of you don't have to make. I know what Alex will do. Also, Mo, he's going to make a straight GPP lineup with a quarterback, 2 pass catchers, and a comeback. Like he's just going to go treat it just like he's attacking like a millie maker or a version of something like that. Because he will go in with no fear, right? Chipotle will do something similar. The one bullet guys who are in there, they're going to be like, I got to come out with something. This is a $50,000 entry, and the difference between last place and like if I finish in the middle, I might get 20 grand out. I assume that's about what the payouts are, like 15,000 or something. If you're kind of like until you hit the top 10 and then it starts to go up. But like those last places might be like 5 grand. So the first thought is I cannot come in last. I need to come out of here with 20 grand. So those guys are going to play a little safer. So you can expect like chalk to really, really, really congeal hard in this contest. And I see it because I watch every single one of these contests, and it happens every fucking time. Every fucking time. The consensus best quarterback play is going to be like 40% owned in that tournament. It's just going to be like in a big GPP, it might only be 14% owned, but in a tournament, like if it's Mahomes might be 40% owned. And people aren't going to have the balls to play Trubisky or even Jalen Hurts. So anyway, you got to, once you could figure out who they're going with, just fade that shit. Like if we figure out who the 40% guy is, don't play him. That's how I would do it.
We'll get into it more on Friday.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that. All right. So anyway, next up on the core four. It's not on the list. I added it late. Eagles, Cardinals. Really sexy game. 49-point total. Cardinals, 6.5-point home favorites. Jalen Hurts starts last week. Looks spectacular. He looks like Kyler Murray out there, right? He's running for over 100 yards. Not throwing for so much, running for over, but looking good running out there. He looked good. He looked like under control. The runs were designed. This is a running back and a quarterback all in one. He was doing Lamar Jackson things. Where is he? Let's get the numbers up in front of us here. He was doing Lamar Jackson things, and that means 18 rushing attempts. Didn't even need to get a rushing touchdown, threw for a touchdown. So essentially he got us full running back production and about half quarterback production of a normal productive quarterback in his first game ever. That was a tough matchup against the Saints, who have a pretty good defense. Now they're kind of a little step back, still a good defensive team, Arizona, not as good as the Saints. So we get that out of the way. Does anything stand out about the lines on this game? And can you even bet a game with Jalen Hurts coming in at the row? We don't know what he's going to look like. Is this even bettable at all? I mean, can you take a shot on the Eagles here to stay within the 6.5 points?
That's where everyone's going. I mean, that's where the market.
That is where people are going. Okay.
Yeah, the routine. I mean, Arizona just okay. Yeah, they had the good win against the Giants. Everyone's going to they'll throw that one out. Before that, they really haven't looked good in a while. No. Arizona. Last week was the first good week, but the Giants, they might be competing for the division win, the division lead, but they're not a very good team. They're a terrible offense. Let's put it.
We did see the return, a little bit of a return.
Yeah,
him running, but not that much. Only 47 yards.
Yeah, but it was the attempts were up. I believe he had 11. I had it up a second ago, but 13 attempts. Yeah, which was far more. He had 5 for 3 weeks in a row. 13 is like the second most he's had all season. So I feel a little bit better that he's got confidence to run the ball. If he's got confidence to run, then I got no problem playing Murray. So I feel a lot better about him. I was off him for the last 3 or 4 weeks, so
including last week, by the way. I didn't play him at all. So now maybe it's time to jump on board.
Yeah, I think we can get back. Maybe. Yeah.
Can you do it in cash? Can we rely on it?
No. I think you got better options in cash.
Okay.
I think so, I think so.
But this game does have excitement and interest.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
I mean, we've got DeAndre Hopkins finally without some difficult matchup.
Yeah. This is the one time where you're going to have a guy shadow someone, and we're hoping for it.
We're happy with that.
If Slate plays Hopkins, that's Hopkins all day long. He's going to eat his lunch. So that, this is potentially a pretty good stack with those two. And and this is the hard thing with Philly is it's a totally different offense. So it's hard to really figure out, where they're going. I mean, is this they're going to the old man? Is it
Alshon? Ertz?
No, exactly. So I mean, I
don't think you can stack him at all. I think you have to play. If you play Hurts, you got to play him. You got to play him naked. You cannot. What he's doing out there is more of a running back. It's kind of like if you play Cam Newton. I think it's an unstacked play, or
you play with Hopkins.
Yeah, you play him with a Hopkins to afford a Hopkins. You're saving $11K, $1,100 over Kyler Murray to go down to Hurts. and you spend that extra money to go from, let's say a wide receiver that might be Robert Woods to DeAndre Hopkins, who's a much better play. Like, what the fuck is Robert Woods 6,800? What the hell is that shit? But a kind of shitty ass salary.
And you've got expensive running backs this week.
You just apply the money elsewhere. It's not going to be easy. Salary is going to be difficult, and I do think that lineup construction will tend towards people trying to squeeze in the cheapies. I really do. And when you see trying to put a lineup together, it's not the easiest. Now, one other player that I'm interested in this game, hasn't done much in a while, but Christian Kirk, 4,300. He's one of the few values. Now, he's not been a volume guy at all this season, especially the last couple of weeks. And he's got an awful lot of shitty scores. But there was a little run earlier this season where he got a string of 20-plus point games. I think there were 4 in a row, or 3. But for the rest of the season, he's been hanging around in single digits. So I don't mind Christian Kirk as a high upside, stack with Kyler Murray. Allows you to afford, or even a Jalen Hurts, and now you can really afford some goodness in your lineup because you got a couple cheap pieces in there.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk's my 25th, with Murray, of course, is the 25th best stack on the board, which is which is a nice GPP type of play. 8 or 9% probability of hitting that number. Low owned, cheap, afford you a lot of other things. So yeah, I don't mind that play at all.
Running backs in this game. Miles Sanders. All right, let's talk Miles Sanders for a second. Miles Sanders finally, under Jalen Hurts, had a monster smash last week. So I think one of the big questions of the week here, because it's a fine matchup, it's better than the matchup was last week. But this is a guy who's been giving us 3s, 6s, 10s, and 12s all season long. Now the salary is a little bit higher. He had a good week. I've got a decision to make in my season-long league between Miles Sanders and Mike Davis, and it's a tough decision. So the question is what Sanders did last week under the Hurts regime something we can expect week after week, or was that an anomaly? And because he didn't get more volume necessarily, it was his 14 carries. He just did a lot more with it, and it was, again, against an elite run defense in the Saints. So the question is, this is a step down in run defense. Not that Arizona's bad, but it's a step down. I think one of the fundamental questions of the week is, was last week an anomaly for Miles Sanders, or did we finally see the beginning of a version of Sanders that finally lives up to the expectation of a stud running back?
Yeah, I'm concerned because he was another guy.
What's that? Go ahead.
He was another guy he had one big run in that game, which skewed the numbers, and he also got in the end zone, which is always
he got the 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
didn't do much outside of one 82-yard run.
They gave him 5 looks, 5 targets in the passing game, but didn't do much with it. And like I said, the 14 rushes, not really anything different than he was doing before. He's had a couple of games like that where he's had low amount of touches, but he's had a couple, he's popped a big run and he's gotten over that 100-yard threshold. But yeah, I'd be a little leery. I think his ownership's going to be, I think people are going to be on him now because there's the narrative with, maybe it's Hurts who's now helping Sanders, which I do buy into that a little bit. I do think he'll run the ball a little bit better with Hurts back there, but I'm still I'm worried about the volume. I don't think you're not going to see 20 rushing attempts. So you're looking at 15 attempts maybe at the high end, and I think again in the 4 or 5 targets. So if he doesn't get in the end zone here at this price, and he had to get in the end zone twice last week to really give you that big time day. I mean, you go back, if you look, he had a game against Baltimore where he had 9 rushes for 118, but he didn't get in the end zone. It was just a blah day.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're really banking on the fact that he's going to have 15 touches that he's going to bust 1 or 2 that's going to get him over the 100 plus 1 or 2 touchdowns. I think there's a high risk here with Sanders, and I think the market's really likes him right now too. So
That would make me want to be on him less. And I like that. You mentioned that most of his production came off of one breakaway run. It's really important not to get fooled by those situations because they're not repeatable. And if he hadn't run for 80 yards in that touchdown, for all intents and purposes, that 30-point day goes down to like a 15-point day, like a 12-pointer. It's just a shitty day, or a 15-pointer because he got the other touchdown. So that is something to be concerned about. The other thing to be concerned about is, listen, the reason why, if you look at the matchup tool here and you see he was on the field for 81% of the time, but only got 39% of the carries, is because the quarterback is taking a lot of carries, and they have a lot more carries to go around, but the quarterback has taken a lot of them. And we've also seen that Boston Scott will come in and get touches. Got some last week as well. So there's risk with Sanders. I agree with you. I think the risk is higher than the potential return, especially if ownership starts to float above like 10 or 15% levels, which it might get there as we get closer to game day. So we'll have to keep a close eye on that. All right. That'll do it for the core 4 breakdown. Those are our 4 core games. Now we're going to take a look in a rapid fire. What do we call this segment?
I don't know.
Rapid fire?
Lightning round.
Lightning round.
There we go.
I got to write stuff. I need a producer in my ear.
Well, you can't remember it lightning round because we never really go through it lightning fast.
Yeah, we usually take just as much time as the core 4, but we have had off-air discussions about trying to lightning round the lightning round, so we'll see how it goes. But where we look at each game really quick, betting angles, lightning round perspective. Let's give it a shot. The lightning round. I'm practicing my radio voice when I do that. The lightning round.
You got to listen to Cousin Brucey a little bit more.
How did you know? I based my.
Come on. Well, do we have the ability to echo and sound like we're broadcasting from the bathroom?
Oh, boys and girls.
Yeah.
I don't...
There's. I'd be shocked if anyone on this watching this knows who Cousin Brucey is.
I don't know who Cousin Brucey is. I even shouldn't know who Cousin Brucey is, but like my dad would listen to that,
of course,
in the car driving around back in the day, in the Chevelle convertible. All right. The Oldsmobile Cutlass.
I think Cousin Brucey's still going at it on Sirius.
No,
I'm pretty sure he is.
There's no way that guy's still alive.
Oh, he's definitely alive. Yeah,
he is. That's
yeah.
Crazy. All right, let's go to the first game in the lightning round, and we are talking Lions, Tigers, and Bears and Titans. Oh my! The Lions don't have a quarterback for this game. Potentially, they're going to roll out Chase Daniel with Matt Stafford potentially injured. The odds makers don't even want to put a line on the game just yet. We're lucky enough that one of them had the cojones to put a line out, William Hill. But for the most part, it's an off-the-board game. All they know is the Titans are gigantic 10.5-point favorites against a quarterback-less Lions team. Can you bet this? I mean, Derrick Henry is the smash spot of the year. Once again, after last week, we got another smash spot for Henry and a Lions team that, if it was Stafford, I think actually this game would be pretty close. But with Chase Daniel out there, no.
Yeah, this is good. I mean, that's why when I looked at the Dom station and I know Wednesday, it changes quite a bit. When I was looking at the projected ownership, Henry's got to be owned at a higher rate than Cook.
Yeah, it's wrong. I saw that too, and I don't agree at all. There's no way that Dalvin Cook comes in higher than Derrick Henry.
Yeah, so Henry, how does he miss here? I'm going to have a hard time not having him.
We've seen Henry in a blowout against Jaguars earlier this season miss because they got down to the goal line and they ended up throwing one to Jonnu Smith and then throwing one here, and all of a sudden the game ended and he only had 80 yards and a touchdown and he put up 60, or he didn't hit the 100. He only got one touchdown and he got you 17 points, and that didn't get you there. That's how he misses. Or he only gets one. He runs for 135 yards, doesn't get any touchdowns because they happen to throw for those touchdowns because the game went a little weird. Or he puts up 120 yards and just one touchdown, and only got you 21, and you paid all the way up to 9K, and you needed 9, 18, 27, 36 to pay off for tournaments, and he only got you 21. And okay. So there are lots of ways he doesn't pay off, but most of the time he's going to pay off here because it's a smash spot.
It is. And I guess part of the danger is they can throw the ball pretty well on Detroit as well. We've seen Detroit just get smoked.
Yeah, they can't stop the pass either. So that's a danger. Like all of a sudden, and AJ Brown comes in and he scores 2 touchdowns and just has a smash game and only so many tutties to go around. A few different ways. Yeah. Anything of interest? I mean, this can't be bettable.
Yeah, it depends on the book. I have no interest in the game. So I'm not sure if it's up yet everywhere, but yeah, I won't have any interest in making a play here. I just that line just doesn't appeal to me. And from what I'm looking at, and I don't know how much I need to adjust the quarterback there. So it's just not a game that I'm interested in betting.
Doesn't work with the models. All right, let's move on. Lightning round. Oh, that's right. There is some talk, and this is worth mentioning, that they're trying to get Henry to that 2,000-yard season and that they'll give him some extra carries, like pound the rock a little bit more.
Where's he at? What's he need?
I think he needs a couple more, like 150. He needs to be like at 150 yards or something for the next 3 games in a row. So he needs like 3 very big games to get there.
Yeah.
So and there is talk that they want to get him that. So, whatever that's worth. All right, let's move on. Next on the lightning round, we've got the 49ers, -3, taking on the Dallas Cowboys and the dead-legged Ezekiel Elliott. 45-point total. John, the only thing I'm interested here from a DFS point of view is like maybe some players on the 49ers side. I'm not interested in Dallas here at all. So I like Brandon Ayuk. I like whoever the running back is, maybe Wilson Jr. if he's the starter. I am not down with Zeke or really any of the like just the Cowboys offense here. Does anything stand out about this line that stands out as bettable? I mean, 49ers, maybe they should be a little more favored than 3 points, considering this is the Andy Dalton Cowboys, Yeah,
it's
great against Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's a funny week. There's so many of these games are skewed in how the public's coming in, and this is another one of them. I mean, San Francisco's getting bet a ton. I think it makes sense. Not a game I particularly like either side of, so I'll be passing on this one. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these games. I don't know if I've seen a week where so many games the public is on the same side heavily, and so this is gonna be a week where the books either absolutely clean up or they get their ass handed to them. There's gonna be no in between from the looks of it. So that's how it's gonna go. But yeah, I mean, I remember a time where San Francisco Dallas was the game of the year every year. But those are a long time ago. This is not.
Good. You know what? If Dak is playing, I don't know if San Francisco is better or worse with Garoppolo, but if Dak was in it and both teams were good.
Oh yeah, going into the season, this looked like a great match. But I'll tell you, with Zeke, I'm a little concerned. I mean, Pollard. If you watch those games, Pollard just looks better, and Zeke. It's not like, Zeke's not 30 years old. So
Zeke, let me. I have a rant about fucking Zeke.
Good.
Okay. All right. Mark this point. Let says no to come back here later. 58 minutes in. Fucking Zeke is dead leg. Let me explain. The fact that he can't do shit against, he's just running. He looks like Todd Gurley out there. He's running into the line. He's got no burst. He's got no ability to break it to the outside. This is a whole season worth of Zeke looking like shit. And I'm going to tell you, I think I know what's up. That motherfucker got paid and he got fat. All right? I said it. He's fat now. He got paid and he doesn't give a shit. He's not working hard. He's playing League of Legends. He's playing video games all day. He's not working out. Okay? You got my boy Christian McCaffrey. He's killing himself every day working out. Injured all the time, but he's killing himself. Zeke is out here fucking eating. He's having a pizza. He's like, I'll work out tomorrow. I'm telling you, something's up. He got paid too much, and the hunger The hunger is only for food. It's not for winning. That's why.
I get it, man. I put on like 3-4 pounds every time I win a GPP. So
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. You get fucking lazy.
Yeah.
You're like, listen, I want to fucking eat. This he's dead-legged. Averaging 3.2, 4.0. Does nothing. Receptions, 4 receptions, 18 yards. What kind of shit is that? 8 receptions, 30 yards? You want to throw Austin Eckler the football 8 times, and you want to tell me he's going to get 30 yards? He got 30 yards in the first reception. 8 receptions for 30 yards. This is going on for 2 years with this guy. Enough. Tony Pollard comes in last week. It's a 30-7 win. He puts up 7 fucking points. What kind of shit is this? 7 fucking points? This team destroys the opposition. The ultimate. What more can we ask for a running back? How do I get? What game script do I need to produce? Like what? We played a game where all of the other teams' defensive linemen have the fucking corona, and then he finally has a good. Like, what is the scenario that he has a good game? Fucking Zeke. Fuck you, Zeke.
Yeah, I can't believe. I mean, you look. They basically split carries last week.
What kind of shit is? Wait, Tony Pollard. Now they're gonna say, well, Tony Pollard came. It was a blowout, so they don't want to. Play Zeke. No, the guy was in the game the whole time. I thought he did better. I thought he did worse than. I thought he did better than 12 points. Like he got a shit score too, but he better than Zeke. At least he broke a long run for 17 yards. Let me show you this. Zeke, what about explosive runs? Where are they? Where are explosive runs this season? Let's see what the long run is. 14 yards, 8 yards, a 26. Oh, whoop-de-doo, a 26-yarder. 12, 11, 11, 12, 9, 4. This is his biggest play of the game. 9 yards? Against Seattle? What the fuck? I'm going to lose my voice. Fuck Zeke. Never going to be in one of my lineups again. It's dead to me. I'd rather play Lats Murray. Gets more points, even with Kamara in there. I think he's dead leg for real. He's just as bad as Gurley. Like watching these guys and David Johnson and watching these old broken running backs run the football makes me sick. Get him out of there. Get some fresh legs. Jeez. All right. Sorry about that, man. I played him in cashless, so I'm so sick over it. And I'm so angry at myself for
you don't. I mean, you sound like you've gotten over it, but maybe you know.
Do I sound like I'm over it?
Yeah, you sound like it wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. Listen, I don't get emotional. That's very important in a DFS player. I am emotionless, like a freaking.
You gotta be like a cornerback, man. You gotta be like a cornerback.
I'm
short,
statuesque. No.
You are definitely not statuesque.
No. Why you got to go there? That's not
sorry,
it.
That
stoic. Stoic is the word. Stoic.
Stoic. I'll give you. Statuesque.
I had Sun Tzu out on Twitter out there ripping on my height. I'm like, dude, you're a fucking jolly giant. I love you, but normally I'm a bit of a tallophobic. I don't like the tall. Like if you start crossing 5'11", I get a little uncomfortable. I don't like it. All right.
But yeah, the only play, yeah, I agree with you there is on the San Fran side. Ayuk should be
Ayuk sounds like a great play.
Yeah, should be pretty good.
Jeff Wilson Jr., if Mostert is out,
they're going to run the ball. They'll run the ball on Dallas.
They're run it right down the throat. That's what they're going to do. The beautiful thing about San Francisco is, I like Jordan Reed, the tight end for San Francisco a little bit. I love San Francisco defense in this spot. Gotta like Wilson Jr., one of the few other pay down options. If you look at Wilson Jr., he's going to be popular. He's 5K. He got 11 carries last week, but this is a team that wants to score via the running back. And of course, you're right. Brandon Ayuk, in the time since Debo, that's my back punk, Samuel has been out of the game.
Rest in peace, by the way.
Yes, to Tiny Lester.
Yes.
Zeus. Tiny Zeus, man. One of my favorites. Rest in peace. I'll still do the Debo in his honor.
I'll I'll pour 40 out on my floor every time you do it.
Got to.
Yeah.
Little blue moon. Brandon Ayuk, 24 points, 20, 19, 23, 20. This guy has been a beast because he's the only person to throw to. In that offense, they're not going to throw to Kendrick Bourne. They're not going to throw to, very frequently to the tight ends. I know there's another wide receiver. I don't even know who that is, but they ain't throwing to him. It's going to be Ayuk. He'll be very, very popular this week. All right. Next up, this wasn't a lightning round, man. That was a core four. That was like a big time breakdown right there.
Well, you didn't really. It was a big time.
Yeah, I know. I rant. I reserved the time for the rants.
It's all right. It's your podcast, man.
I just get so angry.
There's other people that are angry and they wanted to get that out too. So
yeah, I know a lot of people were like, yeah, watching the fucking Zeke. I drafted you third. You screwed me. The one thing about Zeke, he never gets hurt. It's almost worse. I'd rather him get hurt so I could play someone else. You're forced to play him in your season long because you drafted him third. And the guy's been killing you.
We can hope for an arrest or something, but
I don't hope. I don't wish that on anybody.
No, I certainly don't, but
so angry. All right, next up, lightning round. Houston Texans. We did Bucks and Falcons, right? We did Bears, Vikings. We got the Texans taking on the Colts. This is another one. This betting angles, man, you got to tell me. This feels so obvious. I get it's a 7-point spread, but the hapless Texans taking on the pretty good Colts. Colts are at home. Friendly territory. They're only 7-point favorites.
Yeah.
The Colts have a running back that is on the rise, going up against the worst run defense in the entire league. Only 7? Can I just tease this shit down to -3 and then put all of my money onto it?
Well, you would tease it to like 1. Usually it's 6. Well, I mean, they have multiple. It depends on the book, but
what does that cost me?
Well, if you're teasing, generally if you're going to do like a 2-team teaser, 6 points on each side, you're going to be -120, 125, depending on your book. So
that doesn't sound that much. So I only have to pay up to -125 to get this line to -1.
Well, you've got to win both. I'm talking about a 2-team teaser. It's sort of a parlay. You can look at what the alternate lines are as well. I mean, you could just play the game at 6 and then buy the line, but now you're paying a lot. It's basically a parlay.
Let's pop the money line up on screen here. Guess what? We got that technology, motherfucker.
That's teaser. Right. Yeah, I mean, essentially, if you just play the money,
it works. Yeah, there it is.
The same, but so a teaser is a combination of
2-team. It's a 2-team combo, and then you get a -125 odds for the pairing to hit. I don't like doing teasers.
I'll go into that.
Wouldn't I just be better off like parlaying 2 teams that I like a lot? Like I'll just take the Colts at -330, and I'll mix in some other team that I think is going to win. Like
you can. There's some
Rams.
There's some spreads where the teaser is beneficial. The books, of course, are onto that now, so that they've jacked the lines up a little bit on those to make them not quite as good. But if you are teasing, I'll just give you a quick little tidbit. So if you're teasing, you'd love to tease through the 7 and the 3. Either way. So if I'm teasing up, I want to pass the 3 and the 7, and if I'm teasing down, I want to pass the 7 and the 3. Makes sense.
Want to get this one down to like 2.
Exactly. So if it was an 8, you'd like to get it to a 2. Games end about almost 40% of all NFL games end between 3 and 7. So if you can pass that, it's a big boost. So guys, I see guys teasing, 11-point favorites down to 5. Like that's not good. Or teasing, 9-point favorite up to 15. Again, doesn't really do much for you. You're wasting the points. So you're going to get the most bang for your buck. And the worst thing is when you tease a 3-point favorite to a 3-point underdog. Terrible. Because now you wait like the 1, the 0, and the 1 are just hardly ever land on. The 2 is not landed on all that much either. Most games that are 3, the point spread's not going to come into play outside of a push. Like the team's just going to win by more. I mentioned it in I liked Pittsburgh, of course. Another guy. I'll give you all the games that I lost last week, but Pittsburgh a game, and that game was like 2.5 at one point, then 2, and someone's like, "Oh, shit, the game's down to 1.5," and I said it won't matter. And of course, in text, it doesn't come across as what I was actually trying to say was not that Pittsburgh's a lock to win, but that line, from 2 to 1.5 probably won't matter. So don't get too hung up on that. That's what I meant by that. But yeah. So anyway, that's just a quick note on teasers. If you're looking to tease, you'll be a lot more profitable crossing the 7 and the 3.
There we go. All right, so back to this game, and that is great knowledge. I love it. That's why I pick your brain all the time with this stuff because, you know what works already, and we're all, we're trying to win money in all the ways we can. So let's go back to this game a little bit here. Texans, man, I think they're going to get Brandon Cooks back. You got Kiki Kuti out there. You got some dead-legged running backs that look like a pile of shit, to be quite honest, going up against a really, really top-ranked defense here. I'm just not that excited about the Texans at all and their offense. Can we go back to Brandon Cooks here as a reasonable, probably high volume potential guy, but maybe a little chalky in this spot?
I'm actually okay playing this guy. I don't typically, you're not making a ton of money targeting the Colts defense, but I think there's some potential here. The spread, spread indicates that we could get this game up into the 60s. I think the potential is there. So I don't mind. I will have some in my 150. I will be stacking both sides of this game a little bit. So I'm okay with it. No, not my favorite game on the board, but I am okay with it. I will say one thing about Taylor. He looks like a completely different running back from what I saw in the beginning of the season.
They're giving him the touch. It's Taylor time. It's Taylor time.
It's unbelievable how explosive he looks when he did not look that way earlier in the year. I told you last week I didn't make any. I actually did make one of the play. I didn't realize I did, but a league I wasn't paying attention to. I snuck into the playoffs and I won. I've got Taylor in that league. So, and I just had a monster week last week because of it. So, so I was watching that, and he looks like a different player, and they're using him. I like that. So I do think Taylor, Taylor's going to be another pretty popular play, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting that Sajid. Yeah, I part of the reason I popped this comment up on the screen here, Sajid's saying that Taylor could be a good pivot off of Hilton, is because this is like a lot I'm hearing about Hilton also, and so people are starting to think that Hilton is some kind of a really good play, and he's coming off of a bunch of good games here. Let me see if I can find his usage numbers from that week, but he's coming off of a kind of a string of good games, only on the field 67% of the time, but got a nice little target boost last week. And more importantly than anything else, no one cares about that. All we care about is how many points did he score last week. And, so Hilton's got a couple good weeks. He's now got his salary jacked up to $5,500. And yeah, there it is, 18, 28, and 25. Not on a ton of volume. But you know what's interesting, John? Hilton's been kind of like floating around these similar volume levels all season. He's just been really shitty at converting, at catching. Like, he's dropped a bunch of passes in the end zone this year, and he's just been like off. And all of a sudden, you started to see this like version of T.Y. Hilton. But I'm a little nervous whenever I see, for example, 86 yards and 2 touchdowns. Can you repeat that? It was great when he was 3,900. He's getting you 18 fantasy points, but this was a pretty good game here, this Houston game, the last time they played. And I think there's a lot of this thought of going right back to Hilton. He's traditionally destroyed Houston. It was like a team that he used to destroy all the time. But I guess my question is Hilton going to be the chalk? Is he going to be a chalky play now? Is that where we are? Because I don't want to play Hilton chalk.
Yeah, I don't like that as a chalky play. He scored 3. He's scored now 3 weeks in a row. That's where the points have come from. Targets not up a tremendous amount. The Houston game, he had 11 targets. That was the most, I think. Yeah, that was the most he had all season. It's the fact that he's getting in the end zone, really. I know the yardage is up as well, but it's getting in the end zone. That's been the key. And 2 touchdowns last week. You look at it. They only scored that game. They played. We saw this game 2 weeks ago, right?
Let's go back to that. I'm going to pop it on screen. 2 weeks ago, we had the Brandon Cooks chalk week. Everybody played Brandon Cooks. He was 5,600. Will Fuller had just gotten busted for the roids. And Brandon Cooks came through with an acceptable. I full faded him. I was very obvious about doing that. I said, you know what? I don't want to play this guy against the Colts defense. Colts defense is very good against pass catchers. He ended up scoring 11.5 points. And actually, my fade of him in favor of Deontay Johnson in cash games was why I cashed in everything that week. So now we have the same situation, a little bit more expensive, but not that much more. And I think he's going to be the chalk as well.
He'll definitely be chalky.
Yeah. 8 targets, though, for $6K. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Well, do you like it more than you like T.Y. Hilton at 55?
I don't think I like T.Y. Hilton at all. But, I mean, kind of. I don't know. This is a tough one. I mean, I think I may have some cognitive bias against T.Y. Hilton. Because I've watched him drop so many really catchable big plays already this season. And I kind of thought this guy's finished, like mentally.
You know, what I think is interesting is the last time they played, it was 46 points total, 26-20 game. But, you know, Taylor had a pretty good game, as did Hilton, with not a whole lot of points being scored in the game. So they were actually both pretty good in the same game without the game being too crazy. So
Taylor just missed having a monster game. Oh, well, he had a pretty good game there because of the targets and the receptions and the touchdown. Coming off the week before that where he had the 22 carries and just missed having a monster game against the Packers. And then, of course, he finally has the monster game last week with a 2 touchdown performance against the Raiders. He's going to be chalk. Like,
yeah, if you ask me the way the game's going to go, Taylor will be there. Taylor's going to score the most points for the Colts. And then it's just going to be, they're going to, on the other side, they're not going to be able to run the ball. So it's just going to be a matter of can Watson keep him in the game throwing the ball? I don't think it's going to be a huge score. You know, really, it's not going to be one of the top 3. I'll say it won't be one of the top 3 scoring games of the week, but I think there'll be some decent fantasy points in this game. And I think Taylor, I mean, it's just too good a spot.
It's tough to pay. It's going to be a tough pill to swallow to play Taylor at 7,200 after, you know, we weren't playing him just last week or we played him, but not that much last week for 57. And the situation has not changed. So it's going to be a tough pill to swallow. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But Taylor did make my first look lineup this week where I was like, yeah, I kind of, you know, this is the right price point for a first look player. All right, let's keep rolling.
Yeah, we're flying.
Yeah. Seattle Seahawks, Washington Football Club.
Ugh.
Not a good looking one, man. Not a good looking one. 44.5 point total. Seahawks 5.5 point road favorites. It's a low total. And the Washington team has been very good defensively this season, slowing down opponents, running the football. We don't know if Antonio Gibson will be back. I don't know what the deal is. Did they lose their quarterback? Maybe they lost their quarterback, Alex Smith. I think he might be back this week. What's going on with Washington here?
Yeah, I just saw someone just like as we were coming on, someone posted something about Alex Smith. Yeah, so I'm not 100% sure.
It says Ron Rivera says he could start even if he doesn't practice at all this week.
Right, because he didn't practice. I don't believe he practiced today. But the thing with Washington, has Washington, either side of a Washington game, really been anywhere you want to be, right? Seattle, we know, has had a ton of good games, but we always talk about having both sides of that. This Seattle, this matchup looks more like Seattle versus the Giants than anything else. We talk about Russell Wilson kind of plays down, or I don't want to say plays down, but they play to he does what he needs to do to win. He didn't do it in that Giant game. But if they're playing a team that's going to, throw it all over the place, then that's the games you want Russ. Not really the situation here in this game, I don't think. So I'm not expecting much from anyone in this game. This is a game that I'm not too excited about at all.
No, and you can't. I really, like I said, I don't want to go back to J.D. McKissick and his zero ceiling. Antonio Gibson, we don't know if he's coming back or not. Chris Carson, not a great matchup for the running game. Again, Washington has done it on slowing the game down, possessing the football, They don't score a lot, which means the opponent team doesn't feel the pressure to score another touchdown. So this is pretty much I want nothing to do with it game. There's nothing I'm interested in on either side. If Dwayne Haskins was the quarterback, I might have a sniffle of interest in Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry. We haven't seen the good version of McLaurin since Alex Smith took over. But oddly enough, as bad as Dwayne Haskins is, and he is not good, Terry McLaurin seems to do well when he's at the helm. So that would be the one like inkling of interest that I might have here. All right, let's move on to the next game. Lightning round, Patriots, Dolphins, gross, 41.5 point total, 1.5 point spread. There's borderline nothing that I want to do with this game. Maybe Patriots defense just because Belichick does a good job against rookies.
Yeah.
It's a 1.5 point spread, 41.5 point
What's
total.
I haven't looked at the defenses. I'm not 100% sure what the price is, but yeah, you'll see a lot of people moving that way, I'm sure.
I don't know. Oh, you're asking, like, are they one of the cheapest ones? Probably no. They're one of the more, they're 3K, so they're middling.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of people on that because of what the Herbert game and Tua hasn't been great. We've talked about this though. I do like Tua. The public, just from a betting standpoint, public's like 2-1 on Miami, which I think makes sense. There's not a lot of love for New England.
New England just looks like a bad team.
They're not very good. So I don't. There's nothing I can even think of liking here with New England against that Miami defense. Defense is pretty solid on the Miami side. So, then the question just becomes: do you want to play anyone on Miami's side of the ball? This is just not a game that I'm expecting a whole lot of points in. I think we've got better options elsewhere. I'm certainly not
straight up. Pass on that game. Don't fuck.
Yeah, I'm perfectly good with not using any pieces.
Miami defense also very interesting.
Miami defense is good too. Yeah,
very interesting. Maybe more interesting than Patriots.
Yeah.
All right. Jaguars, Ravens, 47.5 point total. Monster 13 point spread for Baltimore. Ravens defense not looking as impenetrable as it had kind of earlier in the season, but at the same time, listen, you don't allow Baker Mayfield to put up the points that he put up last week if you're an elite defense. They were throwing it all over them. Marlon Humphrey and Jimmy Smith or whatever, they were like running around. They don't know what the fuck they're doing out there. They made Baker Mayfield look like the next big thing. I don't know what's up with that. But now we got Gardner Minshew back for the Jaguars. People are going to want to play Robinson in this spot. I don't get that. You don't really want to play a lot of running backs. But, of course, Chubb and Hunt last week destroyed this. So I don't know. I don't know anything. Up is down, left is right, cats and dogs living together. It's like a whole craziness over here. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
The thing you have with Robinson is at least he's getting the carry. He's getting the carries. He's getting the workload. That's the good part. Bad part is 2-touchdown dog. They should be trying to claw their way back in this game, which is going to limit the running back situation. So, yeah, I'd be lukewarm at best on Robinson. Baltimore is going to be able to. We've seen teams just dominate Jacksonville on the ground. That's Baltimore's game. So, but
can't trust these running backs. Dobbins.
That's the question.
Gus Edwards coming in.
Gus Edwards getting touchdowns. It's just like
Dobbins is good, but like if you're never going to throw to him ever. And if Gus Edwards is going to come in and vulture multiple touchdowns, I think Dobbins will eventually emerge as the stud that he should emerge as. But, your fucking Harbaugh is like, no, I don't care about your fantasy football team. And that makes me not care about him. Like, you know what? You don't care about my fantasy football team. I don't care about your fucking real football team. That's how I feel about it. He outright said he doesn't care about my fantasy football team. And first of all, it's hurtful.
Yeah.
Hurts my feelings. That's number one. I'm trying to win, just like he's trying to win. I want to win. You notice how I'm delaying as I'm looking for the Baltimore game here, but it was hurtful when he said that. J.K. Dobbins, 62% of only 41% of the carries, right? So we know Lamar Jackson gets a lot of them, but Gus Edwards, 22%, man. Fucking Gus. Scoring all the touchdowns. No one gets a pass. 0 passing game work. 6% on the year for Dobbins. It's very, very difficult to play this guy. He's not cheap enough. 5,900 for no receptions. That's a danger zone.
Yeah, I think these are good GPP plays, though. I think I'm obviously going to be worried about this is certainly not cash, and then if I'm putting in a single entry, but I like because there is potential there if they go heavily with Dobbins for a big type of game. It's just is it likely? No, but you're playing you've got probably the best matchup against for a running back, I should say. So
this will be Dobbins.
Take a shot.
Yeah, this will be Dobbins' best match of the year. So like this, if now or never to smash. Now the other question mark that's going to come up here is should we? Now everybody just watched Lamar Jackson in primetime tearing up the toilet and tearing up the field, all in the same game. That's a special skill. That's like I put this thing on, I blacken out my window for a second. I'm like, John, talk for a minute. Where are you going? I got a cramp. You know what I mean? But you know what it really is.
Yeah, I pretty much I knew exactly what that was when I saw him running because I've run in a similar fashion.
Yeah, that run, we've all run that. I mean, I was more like 4 years old when I did that run, but I'm aware of it.
No, yeah. Yeah, I've done it on the golf course where you got to run back to the clubhouse. It's not fun, man. It's not. I
had a situation during a tennis match I don't want to talk about, but anyway,
I could do a whole podcast on these stories.
Yes, there was a public park restroom. It wasn't pretty at all.
Go look up George Brett, by the way, spring training story. That's a great one if you've never seen it.
Look up Mark Schlereth. Do you not know the Mark Schlereth story?
I believe I have heard the Schlereth story.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. All right, or the Justine Quiche.
So that I don't know.
Oh yeah, look up Justine Quiche. She's a MMA fighter.
Was she shit herself in the ring, right?
Yeah, I don't like. Yeah, I mean, it was terrible.
It's a little tough. Yeah.
She was in a submission.
Yeah.
It was, you're pushing. Yeah. Anyway, so I don't even know what we're talking about. I don't want to. Jacksonville, Gardner Minshew, James Robinson.
No.
DJ Shark. I mean, can you go back to DJ Shark now with Minshew back in the mix? He could have a game.
He cost me a couple $100,000 last week.
There you go. I mean, don't appreciate that.
No, I needed like 6 points. He got what, 2.9? Yeah, so.
Steve is pissed about. Let me tell you something, Steve, about your fucking semifinals, bro. I was up against Baker Mayfield. Season long says had Baker Mayfield. It was me versus him, mano a mano, in Sez's personal home league where I like to win. I won that shit last year. I like to win his league and take his money. And it was like the beginning of the fourth quarter. Baker had just thrown the interception. And I'm texting him like, man, it's not looking too good for Baker here. He's like, I know, I've lost. All of a sudden Baker just goes bananas. The last quarter, the last bit of the quarter, he like tears it, runs for a touchdown. I'm like, what? This guy hasn't run for a touchdown in his whole career. Now, so season long says was pretty giddy about that. Yeah, that cost me my playoff run in one league, but I'm still in it in my home league. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Next up, my beloved New York Jets coming in as 17.5-point underdogs against the Rams. Rams defense this week is jacked up to 4,500. You have to pay like a full 1,500 to almost 1,800 in salary above like a normal defense. That's how much of a smash this is. The Rams are actually minus like 2,300 favorites in this game, which is unheard of in an NFL national football. That's the same odds as if an NFL team was taking on a really good college team.
No, not quite, but
higher.
Well, we had the Jets were a bigger dog this year to somebody. I can't remember.
They were worse than -7. They might have been -18 to like the Chiefs.
The Chief game. Yeah. They were more than that. But
No, you cannot go with Jets defense. No, don't use them. No, just making that clear. So
yeah, the reason you don't want to is just because you don't expect the Rams to be throwing the ball all that much this week, and that's how you get points on the defense. You've got to get pick sixes and things like that. So it's not a great pick. This is going to be a conservative game plan.
It's going to be Cam Akers, Cam Akers, and more Cam Akers. This is a Cam Akers game, guys. I see some numbers. I see some jacked up numbers for Goff and for his pass catchers. And it's not for me. I said this the last time, and obviously I ate my words when Mahomes played the Jets. But Mahomes and the Chiefs are very much a team that will throw even when they can run it because they like throwing the football. The Rams are not that way. When they can run the football and they can pound it down your face, that is what they want to do. It's like the 49ers. If they can run it up the gut, they're going to do it and do it and do it again. And that's what's going to happen here in this game, I think. You take a look at Cam Akers last week. First of all, this is my warning to everybody watching this. Don't get sucked in to playing Braxton Berrios or Denzel Mims or any of those Jets pass catchers. This defense for the Rams is the best defense in the league.
Look, you got to see what my projections are, and again, that's just based on when I put my projections. All I'm doing is putting the numbers into my spreadsheet.
This is without any bias. 120. I didn't even look at this. 122 yards passing expectation. That is the lowest passing expectation of any team this entire season on the Statsational model. Nothing has been worse than this. Can't get worse. Don't play anyone from the Jets. No.
I think you can just play. I think it's Akers and that's it in this game.
Yeah, I mean this prediction I disagree with of the 300 yards passing.
Yeah,
for the Rams, I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, because you know the logic behind it, but that's why I always say it's way more like when you look right below it, the Tampa Atlanta one has a higher likelihood of hitting those numbers than the Rams do because of the game script. When we do these projections, I'm not altering them for the team. So this is just simply raw numbers that I'm spitting out. But we don't expect the Rams to throw. I mean, they could, but I don't expect the Rams to throw for 300. You'd expect the Rams rushing number to go up just because of the game script.
That's exactly. I mean, a 17-point favorite. Anything can happen, but no. We saw it again. We've seen teams, because the Jets can kind of stop the run. We've seen teams tear up the Jets via the pass, but the Rams are just not that style of team. They're going to go with the run when they can, and when they're ahead more often than not. We have years of data on Sean McVay and his approach to the game that shows that that's what they do. Cam Akers, 29 carries last week, 3 targets. So what we essentially saw was the Rams maybe for now committing to Akers as the guy. Now, I don't know if there was some other reason, if like maybe behind the scenes, Darrell Henderson was a little dinged up or something. He got a couple of carries. Brown got a couple of carries, but like not much. Actually, he was on the field a little bit, didn't get almost any carries. Akers got almost all of the carries, 81%. He got all of the targets. Akers operated as the bell cow, and Akers, the bell cow role for the Rams is like Todd Gurley vintage, like 3 years ago. That was a 9K running back role. That was what Christian McCaffrey is now. Like, we were paying ridiculous salaries for Gurley because he would get us 25 to 30 touches. Now he sucks because they ruined him. Did they ruin him with those 30 touches?
Definitely. I mean, you've got a shelf life as a running back that's 4 to 5 years. That's it. So, and that's why, and I would do the same exact thing. I would beat the hell out of any running back I drafted and then get rid of him. I mean, that's just the way you got to do it.
It's so harsh.
Running backs is just asinine.
It's so harsh that's what goes on, but that is what goes on. And what are you going to do? Some of these guys just can't hold up. I mean, like
that was always the fear with McCaffrey, and we're seeing it, this year with him being out so many games. I mean, just that workload is just unsustainable.
Again, it was something we talked about on the preseason draft shows, like that. It's very difficult to sustain. And here's Sajid saying, anything can happen.
Of course, it's hard without knowing. Nobody knows for sure because, except I'm assuming McVay knows what he's going to do, but he's not going to announce it. So, yeah, I'll go back to it, but and agreed, it's a 2-game sample, but just from the eye test, he looks way better. He's another guy who looks far different than he did week 1. I thought he looked terrible. I'm like, boy, this guy sucks. I don't know what they were just watching it because Brown looked way better.
He looked way better. He looked more explosive.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, Darrell Henderson has looked good in a couple of games where he's gotten a lot of looks. And that's why I said, I don't know if there's something going on with Darrell Henderson where they felt like they don't want to like mix him in too much. But there's no Q tag here. We don't have any information that this guy is not perfectly healthy. So it looks like they're just giving Cam Akers all the run. And in a game against the Jets as a 17-point favorite, I think the range of outcomes is, yeah, man, maybe they do want to rest him late when they're up huge.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There's only 3. I think there's like 3 running backs now in the league that I can tell you what is going to happen. And of course, we can't totally predict how many points they're going to score. But I know what Derrick Henry is going to do or attempt to do. We know what they're going to try to do with Cook, and we know what Robinson on Jacksonville kind of workload. These are, most of these other teams. That's why the running back has just gotten to the point of so many busts this year at that position because you think you're in a smash spot, and then they just either don't use the guy nearly as much as we thought they were going to use him, or they're just not. They just don't have that good a game. So. Yeah, running back's been tricky. So this is another one where you're not going to be shocked if they split it up, like you said. Maybe they want to, they're up 30 points at halftime, and they're like, hey, let's not run the rookie into the ground here. Let's all
of a sudden Henderson gets a lot of run in the second. You don't know, but
you don't know
what happened on the way to the 31 points. You could have 70 yards and 2 touchdowns, and this guy is 6,700. So he's like 6,600. He's less by a few hundred than some of these maybe seems a little sexier, names like the Taylors and the Robinsons of the world. And there's just not that many options at running back this week. I mean, again, we're going to try to pay down maybe for, I ain't paying no 5,700 for JD McDicksuck. Fuck that. This guy doesn't have any ceiling. So, Wilson Jr. and Leonard Fournette, you're going to try to get those guys in there, but, you're going to have to pay up. Akers. My first lineup has Akers in it. Akers and Taylor and Henry. Just those 3 look really good. Like, yeah, that's the trio I wanted the most. And Akers is the cheapest of them, so you got to roll with him a little bit. All right, don't play any Jets. I think the best thing that could happen for you at the Fantasy Football World Championships is if somehow a Jets player becomes chalk. Like, everybody wants to play Braxton Berrios.
Yeah, there's no chance.
It could happen. At the one I was at, everybody was talking about Patrick Laird, and then a bunch of people played Patrick Laird.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that becomes the situation. I'm not going to have any Jets, but yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, I would definitely go with Akers over Dobbins. Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Sullivan Ahmed. Let's find out if he's healthy first. Let's not go crazy. But if Ahmed is healthy and if Myles Gaskin is not, then sure. Yeah, I'll be very interested in Ahmed. Very interested.
Yeah.
But we don't know that. I don't have any definitive information that says Ahmed is going to be in there and that Myles Gaskin will not. Let's, whatever happens, let's play it by ear. John, I think that's it for the lightning round here. Yeah. We covered all these games.
All right.
So I don't think we missed anything. I think that's going to do it, guys. So, in looking at the entirety of the week, obviously it's Wednesday right now. Hopefully some news will pop. Lawrence is asking about Ahmed. Maybe that's a pay down option that'll come up for us. We already talked about the running back for the Jaguars, whoever that might be interesting and cheap. Couple situations like that popping up. But for the most part, no games really, really scream, you got to play me this week. So I think it's going to be another week where lineup construction is going to be all over the board. We're for me, the clear pay up is Mahomes. I think he's a better play than Jackson, Wilson, probably than Murray, definitely than Deshaun Watson. So like if I'm paying up, it's probably going all the way up. I like Murray a little bit, but it's hard to trust him. And then from there, it's Taysom Hill. I want to get down. I want to get down low with the Taysoms, the Hurts, and maybe even a Trubisky. It's a weird week.
Yeah, that's my my Wednesday mindset right now. Is I'll probably be paying down on quarterback in the for the FFWC. So,
I mean, don't give away too much FFWC strategy, but
I think that's just where I'm leaning.
Dude, if you play Trubisky to Robinson in the FF, I mean, I'd have a hard time with that.
For $500,000, that would be some win.
It would be. I don't think anybody's going to play him. Like, why don't you go? Yeah, Gardner Minshew. Like, who did John use? He uses Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, $1.5 million with Gardner Minshew to Cole.
That's the stack on FanDuel, no less. So,
yeah, not happening.
No, don't do that. All right, that'll do it, guys, for the Geeks Vegas Line Show. Thank you for being with us. As always, remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Share it on your friend. Tell your friends. Hit the social media share. But like and subscribe to the channel, of course. And if you want to get all of these info and more, all of our VIP breakdowns, get into DFSArmy.com. I always forget to mention this. Get into DFSArmy.com. Sign up as a VIP. Now is the time. We have been destroying NBA preseason. You know how you know? Enter a preseason contest. Wait till it's over. Look up top. John, you were splitting with freaking DFS Army with my boy, the Soprano, other DFS Army subscribers. Like everybody was, all of our guys were the top 10. Keg is destroying those projections. You guys got to check it out. NBA preseason is volatile. Not going to do it every day. Not going to smash every day. But when you do, it's fucking beautiful. And of course, if you want John's betting picks, he is the sports betting GOAT. NFL bets every single week. Other bets too. Soccer, tennis, whatever you want. Get to sportsbetarmy.com. Sign up as a VIP over there. And you can use promo code Statsational. That way John gets the credit. That's how we pay him.
That is. I get Tennessee Tech tonight.
Oh, a freebie.
You might not have even ever heard of Tennessee Tech, but there's a free one for you.
I didn't even know that there was such a school called Tennessee Tech.
There is a Tennessee Tech. They're awful, and we're playing them tonight. So there you go.
You're playing them.
Yeah.
Now, do the players on their team look similar to me in both height and complexion?
No.
All right. So then, okay.
Yeah, we have a shot.
That is a shot. You don't want anyone that looks like me on your basketball team.
No.
None of that. Not the height. Not the weight. None of it. I want none of that. All right.
With your statuesque.
Not the statuesque, stoic person like me. There we go. All right, guys. That's going to do it. Geeks Vegas Lines, week 15. We will be back on Friday with the Wolfpack, DFS Army VIPs only roundtable, where we kind of take a look at the strategy, the slate from a strategy point of view. And I will be back, as always, to bring it all home on Saturday with the Players Club, where we get all of our information together, figure out what we're going to do in cash, what are we going to do in GPP, what are we going to do in 3 max, all that good stuff. So big week of content. Oh, and shit, how am I supposed to do the Players Club? There's fucking games on Saturday. I don't even know. I'm going to make it work. We're going to make it happen. Break down those Saturday games as well. We got a big slate coming up. So really good stuff, guys. Good luck, everyone. We will see you later in the week breaking down all this good stuff. Take care, everybody.